What if I told you that the secret to transforming your entire life is not about adding more to your mind, but about emptying it completely? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll discover a profound truth that has changed millions of lives. And it might just change yours too. Picture this. Your mind right now is like a cluttered room where you can barely move. Every thought, every worry, every regret is taking up precious space. But what if you could clear that room entirely and create space for something extraordinary to enter? Today, I'm going to share with you a story that reveals the ultimate power of mental freedom, and more importantly, how you can achieve it starting right now. Before we dive in, let me ask you something that might hit close to home. How many times today has your mind wandered to something that happened yesterday, last week, or even years ago? How many times have you caught yourself worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet? If you're like most people, the answer is probably countless times. And here's the thing that nobody talks about. This constant mental chatter isn't just annoying. It's literally stealing your life away, moment by moment. Now I want you to imagine someone who represents all of us in our modern world. Let's call him David. David is 24 years old, and if you looked at him from the outside, you might think he has it all together. But inside his mind, there's a constant storm raging. From the moment he wakes up until he finally falls asleep, his thoughts are like wild horses running in every direction. He replays conversations from work, worries about bills, regrets things he said or didn't say, and feels anxious about decisions he needs to make. Sound familiar? David's mind has become his prison, and he doesn't even realize it. He's tired all the time, not because his body is exhausted, but because his mind never gets a break. He's lost his ability to enjoy simple moments because he's always somewhere else mentally. The worst part? He thinks this is just normal. He thinks everyone lives this way. But here's where our story takes a fascinating turn. David hears about someone who might be able to help him. Deep in the mountains, far from the noise and chaos of city life, lives an elderly man who was once a renowned therapist. This man had spent decades helping people find peace, but eventually he realized that true wisdom couldn't be found in books or theories. It could only be discovered through direct experience and simple living. So David makes a decision that changes everything. He embarks on a journey to find this wise man, hoping against hope that someone, somewhere, might have the answers he desperately needs. After days of traveling through winding mountain paths, he finally arrives at a small cottage surrounded by nature's tranquility. The old man is sitting on his porch, and there's something immediately different about him. He radiates a calmness that David has never experienced. His presence alone seems to quiet the mental storm that David carries everywhere. When David explains his struggle with his restless mind, the old man simply smiles and says something that seems too simple to be profound. He says he has a small task for David. Here's where the story becomes absolutely fascinating, and here's where your life can change forever. The old man fills a glass with water, right to the very brim. Not just full, but so full that one tiny movement would cause it to spill over. He hands this precarious glass to David and gives him what seems like an impossible mission. Walk to the edge of the village and back without spilling a single drop. Now, think about this for a moment. David's mind, which has been a chaotic mess of thoughts and worries, suddenly has only one job. Protect the water. Keep the glass steady. Focus completely on this one simple task. As he begins walking, something miraculous starts happening. All those racing thoughts about the past and future simply disappear. His entire being becomes focused on this present moment, on this one glass of water. The village around him is alive with activity. Children are playing, dogs are barking, merchants are calling out their wares. People are rushing about their daily business, but David doesn't notice any of it. His attention has become like a laser beam, completely concentrated on the task at hand. Step by careful step, he makes his way through the bustling village, completely absorbed in the present moment. And here's the beautiful thing that happens. For the first time in years, maybe for the first time in his adult life, David's mind becomes completely quiet. Not empty in a vacant way, but empty in a purposeful, peaceful way. He's not thinking about yesterday's mistakes or tomorrow's challenges. He's not analyzing, judging, or worrying. He's simply being present with what is right now. When he finally returns to the old man, having successfully completed the task without spilling a drop, he feels different. There's a lightness in his chest, a clarity in his mind that he's never experienced before. The old man looks at him with knowing eyes and asks a question that reveals the entire lesson. He asks David what he noticed during his walk. Did he see the children playing? Did he hear the dogs barking? Did he observe the merchants and their colorful displays? David realizes with amazement that he noticed none of these things. His attention was so completely focused on the present moment, on the simple task of carrying water, that everything else faded into the background. And in that realization, he discovers the secret that will transform his life forever. The old man explains what just happened in words that will echo in David's mind for the rest of his life. When your attention is fully in the present moment, there is no space for the mental chaos that usually dominates your thinking. There's no room for regret about the past, because the past doesn't exist in this moment. There's no space for anxiety about the future, because the future isn't here right now. There's only this moment, and in this moment, you can find a peace that surpasses all understanding. But here's what makes this story so powerful for your own life. David didn't need years of meditation training. He didn't need expensive therapy or complicated techniques. He simply needed to understand a fundamental truth about how the mind works. When you give your full attention to the present moment, when you become completely absorbed in what you're doing right now, the mental chatter automatically quiets down. Think about times in your own life when you've experienced this. Maybe you were completely engrossed in a creative project, or fully present while having a deep conversation with someone you love, or entirely focused while playing a sport or musical instrument. In those moments, weren't you free from worry? Weren't you free from the constant mental commentary that usually runs in the background? That's the power of presence, and it's available to you every single moment of every single day. The tragedy is that most of us live our entire lives without ever discovering this truth. We think peace is something we need to find somewhere else, something we need to achieve through external circumstances. We believe that once we get the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect amount of money in the bank, then we'll finally be at peace. But David's story reveals that peace isn't something you find out there. It's something you uncover right here, right now, by simply giving your full attention to this present moment. Now, you might be thinking that this sounds too simple to be true. How can something so basic solve the complex problems of modern life? Here's the thing that most people don't understand. The complexity of your problems isn't in the situations themselves. The complexity is in how your mind responds to those situations. When your mind is cluttered with thoughts about the past and future, even simple problems become overwhelming. But when your mind is clear and present, you can handle complex situations with ease and grace. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine you're dealing with a difficult situation at work. If your mind is scattered, thinking about all the things that could go wrong, replaying past conflicts, and worrying about future consequences, that situation becomes a source of tremendous stress. But if you can bring your full attention to the present moment, focusing only on what needs to be done right now, the same situation becomes manageable. You can respond instead of react. You can think clearly instead of being overwhelmed by emotion. This is the life-changing power of emptying your mind. It's not about becoming passive or disconnected from life. It's about becoming so fully present that you can engage with life from a place of clarity and peace rather than chaos and confusion. When David returned home from his encounter with the wise man, he was fundamentally different. Not because his external circumstances had changed, but because his relationship with his own mind had transformed. He discovered that he could carry that glass of water with him metaphorically wherever he went. Anytime his mind started racing, anytime he felt overwhelmed by thoughts and emotions, he could remember the lesson of complete presence. He could bring his attention fully into whatever he was doing in that moment, and instantly find the peace that had always been there, waiting to be discovered. The beautiful truth is that you don't need to travel to a mountain village to find a wise teacher. You don't need special circumstances or perfect conditions. You can start practicing this presence right now, wherever you are. Whether you're washing dishes, walking to work, having a conversation, or even just breathing, you can give your complete attention to that activity and discover the same peace that David found. Here's your challenge, and it's simpler than you might think. Choose one ordinary activity today and do it with complete presence. Maybe it's making your morning coffee. Maybe it's taking a shower. Maybe it's listening to a friend. Whatever it is, give that activity your undivided attention. Notice when your mind starts to wander to other things, and gently bring your focus back to what you're doing right now. You might be surprised by what you discover. That simple activity, which you've probably done thousands of times before while thinking about other things, becomes completely different when you're fully present for it. You might notice details you've never seen before. You might experience a sense of calm and clarity that you didn't know was possible. Most importantly, you'll get a taste of the peace that comes from living in the present moment. Remember, the goal isn't to never have thoughts again. That's impossible and not even desirable. The goal is to change your relationship with your thoughts. Instead of being controlled by the constant mental chatter, you become the observer of your thoughts. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes thoughts coming and going. This shift in perspective changes everything. When you master this skill, when you learn to empty your mind of unnecessary mental clutter and focus completely on the present moment, you discover something extraordinary. Life becomes richer, more vivid, more alive. Problems don't disappear, but your ability to handle them improves dramatically. Relationships deepen because you can give people your full attention. Work becomes more enjoyable because you're fully engaged rather than mentally elsewhere. The wise old man in our story understood something that modern society has forgotten. True success, true happiness, true peace doesn't come from accumulating more thoughts, more information, more mental activity. It comes from learning to be fully present with whatever life brings you in each moment. It comes from mastering the art of focused attention, of single-pointed awareness, of mental clarity. So here's my final challenge for you. For the next week, practice carrying your own glass of water. Find moments throughout each day to give your complete attention to whatever you're doing. Start small, with just a few minutes at a time. Notice how different you feel when your mind is focused versus when it's scattered. Pay attention to the quality of peace that emerges when you're fully present. Your life is happening right now, in this moment, not in your memories of the past or your fantasies about the future. The only moment you can actually live is this one. The only moment where you can experience peace, joy, love, and fulfillment is right now. Don't let another day pass by while your mind is somewhere else. Empty your mind of unnecessary clutter and discover the incredible richness of this present moment. If this message resonated with you, if you felt the truth in David's story, then share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more content that can transform your perspective on life. And most importantly, go out there and start practicing the art of presence. Your future self will thank you for taking this first step toward mental freedom and inner peace.